Alright guys, welcome to the live stream. We are exactly 4 minutes early. I was trying to make that 5 minutes early, but I was a little bit late on that last minute. Which makes us exactly, I think, 35 or what was it, 50 minutes earlier than last stream?
Wow. Significant improvement.
Pretty big improvement. First of all, we're before on time, so we're early in general. And then we're earlier than being like half an hour to 45 minutes late, which is, I don't know, I think that's pretty good personally. I don't know, that's just me. We have some pretty cool topics. First two are...
The BBC says that ISPs should assume that any heavy internet VPN users, are pirates.
So apparently we both learned today that we're
pirates.
Yeah.
Yes. I wish I had my old pirate shirt from PAX 5 years ago. That would work perfectly. The NCTA says 4 megabytes per second should be enough to be considered broadband.
Which is like...
Terrible.
Unfortunate.
Really terrible.
Just sad. It's September, so we have mobile announcements out the butt. We'll talk about that later. Also, we have some pretty serious rumors about 900 series NVIDIA graphics cards, which we all know when it's like this level of rumors, they're probably pretty close to true.
Exactly.
So we'll talk about those later on as well. I was thinking we should have a new intro for us where we both actually properly turn the couch instead of having lines drop in.
That would be pretty fun.
It takes too long to develop, but it would be pretty fun. First up, we have Mod 24. There we go. First up, we have Mod 24. It's on September 18th, as you can see there, starting at 6 p.m., and it is a 24-hour competition where there will be 3 teams competing to modify things, and it'll, like I said, it'll last 24 hours, and only one team will win. Linus and I will be streaming it the entire time, so if we manage to make it through without dying, it should be a pretty interesting stream, and if we don't manage to make it through and we end up dying, then it will be an extremely interesting stream. So be sure to tune in and check that out on the 18th, which is pretty soon, actually. And then next up, our next sponsor is lynda.com, where you can learn pretty much freaking anything. I know Taryn here at Works uses it to learn Premiere, because apparently he didn't know enough when we first hired him. Great! And especially if you're a high school student that wants to go to post-secondary education for programming, I would extremely highly suggest lynda.com. Check out lynda.com/WAN show to sign up, and I believe, if I can find this... if you go to lynda.com/WAN show, you get a 7-day free trial, and plans are about $25 a month. Dun, 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 dun.
It's a pretty good deal.
Back to us. That's actually not too bad for what you get. It's pretty cool. And like I said, it's good for programmers. But to the news of the show, do you want to jump into Samsung Gear VR and Samsung Note 4 immediately, or jump into other stuff?
We could jump into that. I think you should probably talk about the VR. I can talk about the Note 4.
Okay. So I tried Gear VR. A lot of you guys saw my video on that. I was actually pretty impressed with how well it looked, but I was a little bit worried with the demos. So to go into more detail than the video, which you guys should check out, just Samsung Gear VR Linus Tech Tips on YouTube, you'll find it. It's actually fairly nicely built. Although the built-in navigation controls, while they work, are very odd, because if you want to use it to fire, you're going to be like tapping the side of your head like this to fire, and I don't know of any gun personally that you shoot from your face. So, and like I know you don't shoot a gun like this either, but it feels more natural. So
right.
I would highly suggest using like a Bluetooth controller and Bluetooth headset, because the speaker on the back as well, like it exists. And I didn't really get to try it while I was there because it was so loud, but that's inherently a problem.
Right.
It was fairly loud while I was there, so I didn't really get to try it because I couldn't hear it.
It may be loud where you're trying to use the device.
Behind me. Yeah, exactly.
So
I don't know. I was kind of hoping, considering they put that whole speaker pack there, they would have just built in retractable headphones. And my idea when I first saw it, I just assumed they did this because it would have been pretty cool, was retractable like earbud style headphones or in-ear style headphones, and then have a plug-in that would override. So if you wanted to have your own headphones,
right.
Or just have Bluetooth override it if you wanted to have Bluetooth headphones. But apparently not. They just went with the speaker. So anyways.
This is an industry that's evolving constantly, though.
Yeah.
Like the VR industry is changing
incredibly fast.
Incredibly quick. So
considering how long ago DK2 came out, and it had a Note 3 screen, and then now this has a Note 4 screen, and it's a massive improvement that basically
proves. Now to add on to the Note 4 screen, the thing that has me worried, battery life, in the industry I work in, which I can work 18-hour days sometimes, battery life is a huge problem.
Yeah.
And obviously this is not something you're working with in industry, but you have to survive off your Note 4's battery. Do I have that correct?
Yep.
I find that to be a flaw.
That's...
Now there's no wires attached though, so there's a huge benefit on the other side of that.
Yeah, no, it is, and I did bring this up in the video. You're attached to the Note 4 in more ways than you would necessarily want to be.
Right.
One thing is very cool because no cables, like you were talking about, you can freely spin around, which is interesting for the demos that they showed at the event.
Right.
Because like one of the demos that they had was you're underwater and there's all these crazy fish and sea animals and stuff going around you, but you're fixed in a spot. So you can sit there and spin and look at all these different things around you, and it's really cool. And now that's doable with a DK2 from Oculus, but you're gonna be constantly like holding onto the cable and lifting it like above you and like making sure you can spin and like managing this thing, which completely breaks immersion.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's cool that you can just sit there and spin, but then at the same time, there's a limited spinning duration, I guess, because the battery on the phone, right? If you're playing a game, it's not going to last forever. Now, there's counter arguments to this in saying that you're probably not going to want to stay in this not super well refined yet VR environment forever, because Oculus DK2, Gear VR, all this kind of stuff is still not there yet. It's still a little bit jarring. So while I can stay in VR environments for quite a long time because I've been toying with them for a very long time, especially if someone's new to it, it's maybe not something you're going to want to do for a massive amount of time per session. So you could charge your phone between that, but it's still a little bit, I don't know. The other thing is you don't plug it into a computer, so you don't have this massive powerhouse powering it all the time.
Really good point.
You have your phone. So
which the Note 4 is beefy.
It is,
but it's not a desktop.
It's not a desktop. So and that's going to limit what you can actually play. And while you could do some like desktop streaming stuff, it's still not great. And that's why I said in my video as well, hopefully they partner with like Steam or Nvidia or someone to get a really, really good version of streaming like they have for the Shield or the Shield tablet. Because those are very good, but the current solutions for streaming to a phone, while they're pretty good, are not really fully there. And it's going to have to be amazing for it to be VR ready.
Right.
Because you can't manage, like if you turn your head and there's a little bit of lag, it like makes you feel sick.
Right.
I've experienced it before. It's not fun. I tried doing a remote streaming thing with some weird ghetto cardboard setup thing that I did. Didn't end up making a video about it because it totally failed. It was no good. So yeah, you're attached to this processor, but there will be some interesting stuff. Like they're bringing Portal, or I think they already did, bring Portal to Android.
Right.
So you'll be able to play Portal. You can play Half-Life, I believe Half-Life 2 even. You can play... And it's weird because it's third person, but you can play GTA.
Interesting. The original GTAs were third person, right?
Yeah. It's weird because it's third person, but it's still kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because it's like simulating this massive monitor. I don't like how they describe it because they're like, oh yeah, it's like you're sitting right in front of like a 180-inch TV, and I'm like, it's not really the same thing at all. Sorry. But it is an interesting, different, cool way to play. But that would be more of a, I'm going to sit here and not turn at all and just like stare straight forward and use my controller to manage all the actual camera movement. And then at that point, like, why aren't you just using the DK2 and playing the new GTA when it comes out in a super long time?
In a super long time.
Best segue ever. I wasn't even preparing for that at all. Okay, we'll jump back for Note 4.
That's fine. The segue was so beautiful. We have to go forward with this.
I had to take advantage of it.
It's perfect.
So, they announced GTA 5 release dates for next gen and PC, and I was like, oh sweet, we're finally gonna know when it's coming. Obviously expecting holiday season. Surprised it wasn't announced at PAX, but they're GTA, so it probably doesn't really matter. Xbox One and PS4 are getting them on November 18th, pretty much exactly when I expected it to happen, but that does not include the PC version. I'm sure Twitch chat is already freaking out about this because I'm sure everybody knows. Oh, I didn't launch the thing because I'm super dumb. This needs to be public. There we go. Okay.
That's okay.
Got that done. the PC version is not releasing until January 27th of next year.
Yeah. That's when everyone's trying to make their money back from Christmas. That's when everyone's kind of, reeling in the spending.
It's a really awkward time.
It is. Sales drop incredibly in January 27th. There might be a peak because of all the different PC users. I know there's a big modding community behind GTA. A lot of the older GTA titles, they get modded incredibly. While we're at PAX, the mutual friend showed us a video of where someone basically implemented Watch Dogs.
That was so cool.
Into GTA. It was incredible. Incredibly
really well done. Definitely look that up. I don't have it in my notes or anything, but GTA 4, I believe it was.
I think it was, yeah.
GTA 4 Watch Dogs mod. It's done really, really
mind-blowing. Just incredibly well done.
Like, I might actually go mod it to be able to do that, because then it would probably run better than Watch Dogs anyways. But yeah, he used Ice Enhance and a few other mods, and then his own stuff, and made the Watch Dogs mod, and it's incredibly well done. If you weren't paying a ton of attention, you might almost think it's Watch Dogs because of how many different things you can do. Like the what do you even call them? Elevating roadblock things.
Perfect description. Yeah, but that was one of the first things in the video. So you're watching the right video if this happens. But yeah, and traffic, he can hack everything. It's really.
You can
really
even
incredible.
Do camera hacking, which I didn't expect to work at all. And you can jump from camera to camera.
You can go prone. Which I don't believe is something that exists in GTA 4.
I don't think so.
You can go prone because you can do that in Watch Dogs.
Yeah, and he shows going up on top of a train and going prone under one of the overpass things, which, I don't know, that's pretty interesting. Now, jumping backwards with a much worse segue, Note 4.
So the Note 4, I've been really excited for this phone. I've been talking to you about this phone. There's been lots of rumors about this phone. It's the flagship, and the Note series is really... It's a real big hitter these days. The Note 2 kind of wasn't a huge deal. There wasn't really anything super special about it. The Note 3 is really when I feel, and I think you would agree, that the Note really came into its own and it really separated itself from the pack. The Note 4 is continuing that. The S Pen has incredibly upgraded features with how it can detect with the pressure, and you can write with different kind of pens. It's supposed to feel much more intuitive.
Yeah,
I'd have to go to you and comment on that
because I've used it a small amount. They didn't have a lot of text examples there, which was kind of lame. When they're like, "Oh, super awesome pen, which is great for selecting text, which we don't have."
Right.
Okay. But it did seem better. Another problem was that they didn't have a Note 3 there to directly compare.
Right.
So I was doing it, and I was like, "This feels good." I don't know. So yeah, I think it was better.
Well, it just shows their dedication to the S Pen, to their stylus built into their phone. Because in the Note 2, it really wasn't anything special. The Note 3, it came with a bunch of cool little features. I know our mom actually uses it quite a bit. And then they're continuing it on with the Note 4. Another thing is the big battery. It's got a 3,220 milliamp battery. So again, they're keeping the battery up. Again, processor as well. Quad-core Snapdragon, running at 2.7 gigahertz. That's the North American launch. I believe the European launch is an octa-core. I have to double check it and actually write that one down. The main camera is a 16 megapixel with the rear camera, the main camera being a 16 megapixel, the front-facing camera being a 2.7 megapixel. Got a Super AMOLED display, Gorilla Glass 3, and it's got a 515 pixel density with that makes it 1440 by 2560. Now, a question I wanted to throw at you was, you and Linus talk a lot about the resolution of phones. That's something I've noticed on a lot of the WAN shows that I've been watching, and the differences in 720 possibly being a little too low, but some of the ceilings being a little too high. Where do you think the Note 4 falls in that?
Again, problem being I didn't have a lot of comparison. They didn't have a Note 3 there that I could compare against. My phone is a Moto X, not the greatest to compare against in that field. So I needed to pull it out of that situation, which is why at the end of the review I said I need more hands-on time with it. But I'm kind of thinking, because it is such a massive phone at that scale, maybe it could make a difference.
Right.
So I'm thinking at that screen size, maybe it matters. I'm not sure. I need to get it back here where I can actually compare it against other phones.
I do know in your video you were saying it was one of the nicest screens you've looked at.
It looks really good, but then that isn't necessarily tied to resolution.
Right.
That could just be tied to it being a really nice looking Super AMOLED panel.
That's true.
Because it did look really good. It did look very vibrant. I liked the saturation, all that kind of stuff. It was a beautiful screen. I just don't know if all of that's actually tied to resolution. So I'd love to get it back here. I know the second you line it up against a G3, you'll be like, yup, Note looks a lot better. Because G3 sacrificed all the like nice color saturation, all that kind of stuff that they could have had for the resolution. And it seems like the Note 4 did not. They got that resolution in there, but then they also didn't sacrifice much for it, which is great. And one thing that people have brought up is the lower battery life thing. There's pretty simple tricks you can do by downloading apps that I don't even think you need to root your phone for, which can change your resolution down.
Right.
And you can even have like some triggering apps that will trigger based on different events. Launch the app that reduces the resolution on your phone once you hit a different battery threshold level.
Yeah, I've heard. I haven't used any personally, but I've heard of that.
Yeah, yeah. So there are ways around that. Of course, it's not super elegant, and I think it would be cool if they built that type of functionality into the phone.
This is really random, but Greenify. Have you heard of Greenify? Have you used that at all?
No.
The same guy who showed us the GTA video showed me Greenify.
Yeah.
Greenify, I'm just going to throw this in here for 2 seconds. It's a great little app. It's a free app. But what it does is it controls the apps on your phone. Now, I use this in my tablet in my truck. And it's really helped me with battery life. I think we might actually do a video about that coming up. But I'll show you how it works. But it's a great app. If you're having battery life problems, it controls your other apps. It controls Facebook, Twitter, any of those apps. And it won't allow them to basically wake up while they're in a sleep mode. Great little app. Little
That's
segue there. Now, back to the Note 4. The odd thing about the Note 4 compared to the Note 3, and something that I really liked about the Note 3 was that it had USB 3. Right? It was an attachment that allowed you to have a USB 3 connector or a USB 2.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, it was either or. It was, I thought, extremely well done. Apparently, Samsung didn't think so because the Note 4 does not have that feature.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was public perception. People found it, one, ugly. They didn't like it because it was just this giant hole on the bottom. And you had to have the big cable, but then you didn't have
you didn't have to have the big cable.
But I think there was also a lot of misconception on that. I don't think a lot of people realized that it was backwards compatible and you could use your old USB 2.0 cables.
That could be true. Public perception.
I think a large amount of it was public perception. So they were like, okay, if no one wants it anyways,
then we'll just go back to
We'll
2.
just go back, despite it being a much faster medium. And I think another thing is it's a lot of people are doing file transfer wirelessly anyways.
That's true.
So
updates and everything.
Yeah.
Wireless.
While you're gaining wired speed, a lot of people are just going to transfer files between their computer and whatnot wirelessly. So
makes sense.
Yeah, I think no one really cared, and the people that did care didn't want it, so they just ditched it. Although I would have liked to still see it there, but I don't really care either because I'm one of those people that does everything wirelessly. Yeah. So until they come out with that, I'm gonna segue again right here. Watch. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Until they come out with that power USB Power 2.
Oh yeah, the new something watts. With higher power.
Yeah. Then I would be like, okay, I can see them moving off the USB 2.0 standard. So if we can find this article in here, wherever it is, I segued without being
Perhaps
ready.
If they had a USB 3.1 Type C.
There we go. So real pictures have started surfacing of USB 3.1 Type C, which is absolutely fantastic. Peak throughput goes through 10 gigabits per second from the 5 gigabits per second of 3.0, which is essentially 1.25 gigabytes per second, which is pretty cool. And USB Power Delivery 2.0, which not enough people care about. I don't know why. Like, I made a video on 100-watt USB cables at not PAX, CES 2014, this year, and like no one cared.
You should care.
And then every time we talk about it, everyone's like, and I'm like, this is such a big deal.
It is really a huge deal. USB continues to be an amazing thing. I don't know how else to say that. I'm how to put that in better vocabulary. If you read the article on Linus Tech, the USB 3.1. Posted by Good Bytes, is an excellent article. It's got a ton of really good pictures. You guys should check it out. But it's continuing. USB is a huge deal. Again, to refer to the tablet in my truck, I have it attached through USB. It's basically through a modified cigarette lighter. It just slowly trickles power. to my tablet while it's up. So a big thing for me is making sure it doesn't lose any power while my truck's off, and that's a big thing I have to focus on. With this kind of connector, I could lose so much more power and make all of that back. It's really...
Wouldn't even be that big of a deal. Reversible too, which is super
reversible.
Cool. We're just gonna stare at the guy's like details of his skin on
nice.
this photo because I think they focused on the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But it's cool. No worries. Pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that,
It's a big
especially
deal.
the power thing. I don't even as long as stuff works, because that's one of the reasons why people get a little bit confused when I talk about. I'm going to scroll down to a better picture of the connector there. People get confused when I talk about why I like USB 2.0 ports on motherboards, and then I was trying to defend myself, and people were like, "Oh no, it always works." Then I went to go work on a motherboard, and none of the USB 3.0 ports worked. And then I had to reformat this laptop because I put Windows 7 on it, and they're all USB 3.0 ports. And the only way I could get data onto it when I reformatted it to Windows 7 was through the disk tray, because it didn't have an Ethernet driver, and none of the USB ports worked. And I was like, "This is why."
Did it feel ancient? Did it feel like you're going back in time?
It was so weird. I had to find discs, because usually back in the day it was like, oh, whatever, got spindles all over the place. Got spindles for days.
Spindles for days.
Now it's like I haven't even tried to use one of these in a long time. My desktop didn't even have a drive, so I had to go find an external optical drive thing so I could actually.
I haven't had a drive in my desktop, I want to say, for 6 years.
Yeah,
maybe not quite 6, maybe 5, but I remember one time I had to drive all the way here to borrow your CD-ROM USB.
I think
external.
you might even still have that.
I probably do.
Yeah, because I had to. I had to go to the office and get that one because I was like, I can't find my old. I think it was LG. I haven't even seen it in years.
It's definitely LG, and it's definitely in my pile of computer stuff.
Awesome. You can see it in the old mineral oil computer video that I have.
Yes, you
Not
can,
that I used it there, but I had it plugged in because I was like, oh, it looks cool.
Well, because when you built that, was that the Vista age, or was that XP?
Yeah, no, that
Vista?
was Vista.
Vista. Okay.
Yeah.
So you still kind of needed it, right?
Sometimes.
So yeah,
it was still helpful.
exactly.
Through day to day. So the next topic, which we're going to have a Twitter poll for, and I'm going to get this one properly on my screen at the start of the topic. Dun, 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 dun.
While you're doing that, I just want to give a shout out, because we're going to be mentioning everyone who posted in the Linus Tech Tips forum. I obviously have seen the forum since the beginning, and amazing posts on this forum. Like, you guys should really pat yourselves on the back. I'm kind of a weird Linus Tech edition kind of free contractor for graphics card. But so from a view from the outside, like, you guys do an amazing job. And I mean you guys, as the guys posting on there. I lurk, I take a bunch of information. And sorry, I digress, but really good post.
No, it's really good. And we have a post. This is from Jericho, and this is a very good post. But we have a post coming up, which I'm going to have to specifically call out for, I think, our iPhone segment.
The iPhone one
was written
amazing.
Crazy well by Victoria's Secret. But we'll get there in a second. This post was by Jericho. So AT&T and Verizon, which are a part of, let me get the name here, the National Cable and Telecommunications Association, or NCTA, which is, AT&T and Verizon, have filed documents to the FCC trying to say that broadband is already fast enough and claiming that 4 megabits per second, or 0.5 megabytes a second,
brutal,
should remain the standard for broadband. The FCC has been considering raising the definition of broadband to 10 megabits per second, which they should, and its original definition was 200 kilobits per second, which was up to 4 megabits per second in 2010. That was a lot of megabits per second that I just said. Streaming HD content isn't even really possible at 4 megabits per second, and I'm not surprised that they're doing this, but my heart is sad.
It makes me think, and I can't even do the quote because I'm going to get it wrong, but the Bill Gates quote about 256 bits, or
he claims that never actually even happened.
Really?
I think it was like, what was it? 56 kilobytes of RAM will be all you ever need.
It's something. I can't remember the quote.
Yeah, he claims it never actually happened, or it was taken out of context or something. I don't remember what.
But I feel like this is going to be the new one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, this is going to be the extreme underestimate, the under-exaggeration of what we currently need and what we're going to need, as everything is going online. And just to segue a little bit, I use Hangouts on my phone for my text messaging app, trying to explain to my mother and grandfather about how you can have an SMS message and a Hangouts message, and they're in the same thing, and one uses data, and one, like, that was very difficult.
Yeah,
everything,
yeah.
but my emphasis with that is everything is going online. You know what I mean? Like, when we try to jump a border, we use the internet, right? Everything is going to the internet. You know, you can, if you're a Seahawks fan, you can download, if you're a Canucks fan, any of these fans, you can download packages to watch their games online through your computer. You can stream them. You pay them a specific fee instead of the cable company. It's starting. Right, everything is going Netflix. Everything is going to broadband,
and we'll be talking about that even more later on.
But this is just ridiculous. This is painful.
It's stupid. I guess I'm streaming the stream, which is fantastic. I need to go back to here. I'm not surprised they're doing it because I think what they're trying to do is keep the definition low so they can still charge people a lot for a service that sounds by its naming better than it is. And part of the problem is with a broad name like broadband. Let me see here one second. Yeah, with a broad name like broadband, I had to say that, sorry. It needs to have its definition changed from time to time because the standard of what you're going to do on the internet is going to change. Yep. We no longer look up, well, we still do sometimes, but like the Space Jam website is an example that I use all the time. Let's look up Space Jam here. Is this it? Yes, the old school Space Jam website, which still runs. This is not the kind of internet that we're using now. These are still clickable images with like random, like this little spinny thing right here. Like that
was super cool.
That was like the height of difficult internet data. But like we don't do that anymore. It's a lot harder. People are trying to stream Netflix all the time. People are trying to stream high quality YouTube videos. YouTube is streaming into trying to get up to 4K and stuff.
We have 3,200 people streaming this show.
Streaming is very difficult to do on your internet connection. If you have broadband at 0.5 megabytes per second, it's not going to be that great. And especially when stuff like YouTube and Twitch are trying to get into 60 FPS streams, 60 FPS is going to be a lot more data than like we have a video on this, the 792p WTF video, where I talk about how a GTX 480, a super old, I think it's like 5-year-old graphics card. It is a top-tier graphics card, but still a 5-year-old graphics card is beating out modern consoles. I talk about in that video, I talk about the next-gen consoles.
Makes me giggle. Sorry.
I talk about in that video how it's much harder to ramp up the FPS and the resolution. So when they're running at 30 FPS 792p, that's really depressing that they couldn't just up to 1080p because it's really not that hard. What would have been hard for them to do is stay at 792p and jump to 60 FPS. So that's a lot more data that you're pushing through.
Way more.
So you can't just keep this definition static. I don't know how much we actually need to talk about this because I'm sure I'm just preaching to the choir at this point.
I like what you said, though, just to add one last thing on. I never thought of it as a money grab, right?
Yeah.
We can set the standard to be this low. If you want something acceptable, what we would consider, what most people, what everyone watching would be considered to be acceptable, you're going to have to pay here. Never really thought of that before. I think that's the biggest point.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's it, because you see... it's much easier for a company that has to do deployments to increase their infrastructure to try to stay stagnant.
Right.
Because then if they can just keep pushing out the same service all the time, then they can just take subscription fees.
You're just stacking money.
Yeah.
You're just stacking money.
Yeah, essentially. So if they have to go around and upgrade all this stuff, that's just money out.
Right.
It's just directly money out. I don't know.
I hear you.
See, this could be an education thing too. If we can just teach people to start interpreting raw speeds instead of terms, that can help. But then, like, mom is never going to want to figure out how fast in relation to what she's doing these different speeds are. She's always going to want to know, oh, broadband connection, I'm good. That would be way more helpful for her.
If it's not your hobby, you're not going to be as informed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For us, for a lot of people watching, this is your hobby. You're very well informed.
Yeah.
For those that, your hobbies lies elsewhere,
Yeah.
You're going to be getting screwed by these companies.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a sad topic. That's all I really have to say. It is depressing. And moving on to more depressing topics, but kind of awesome at the same time, top websites have joined the Internet Slowdown Day in symbolic protest of fast lanes. So if we can jump here to the forum yet again. Clicking on the scene that says Linus's screen is confusing when Linus is not here. So a topic posted by Dietrich W. I hope I'm saying your name correctly, is showing how top websites join the Internet Slow Day. We did not. I'm sorry. I wanted to. I was very busy with my trip down in Vegas. I was kind of hoping that Mr. Wizard was going to jump on that, but I also didn't tell him to. It was a mess.
Sorry.
But I think enough of our members go to enough websites that did it that it was probably okay. I know that's not a very good excuse. Netflix did it. I think Reddit did it, which is huge.
Yeah.
I wish I had a list here. Do I have a list here of everyone that did? Yeah, Reddit, Vimeo, Foursquare, WordPress, Boing Boing were among the major ones, and you said Netflix did as well, which is pretty cool.
I don't actually know for a fact. I didn't try it. But there was an announcement that I read that Netflix said they were joining. So
right, where is it here? I wish I had metrics on how many people emailed out due to that. But the FCC website got a ton of comments and emails and calls to different senators and stuff. I'm not exactly sure how American politics work, but many things happened, which should hopefully help American politics. I don't know. Basically, that's about it. Jointhefastlane.com is I was just showing the doc again. Derp. Jointhefastlane.com. This is a parody website, which I don't know if you saw this, which is talking about. It's essentially pretending we're in the future, where there is a fast lane and there's all this bull crap.
I didn't actually. I wish I clicked this link. I'm very interested.
It's pretty funny. So they spoofed some companies. So there's VideoTube, there's MovieFlix, and there's Soundify, obviously, instead of YouTube, Netflix, and Spotify. So as you guys can see on here, Soundify, Fastlane exclusive, only available for Fastlane subscribers. MovieFlix, available summer of 2018, which you get fast, essentially Netflix. That's what they're trying to pretend they are. Titles, but then not everything is even available. VideoTube, you buy 500 megabytes of priority streaming. This is all super depressing stuff, and obviously it might be a little bit exaggerated, especially once you get down to the prices.
I was just waiting for you to scroll. This is my favorite part.
Yeah. Best deal extreme, $200 a month for 12 months. Whoa!
Send unlimited emails. Unlimited emails.
Oh my god, unlimited.
Free download of the Fastlane client.
Which probably actually means 2,000. Because every single time I see unlimited on anything, there's fine print. It's like, actually 2,000. So not unlimited at all. Not even close.
No.
There's definitely a cap, which is very reachable. It happens literally every month to a lot of our subscribers. Yeah, so it's exaggerated, but it's a really good point. I think it's helpful to show off to people. Frag like a pro, it's $15 a month to get faster network speeds when you're playing games. Ugh, gross. This is why we need net neutrality to take care of things and make sure we don't all get completely screwed. So again, I don't have a ton to add because American politics, I don't really know. It is very important though, and I have sent emails to FCC people and stuff. This was a while back. I don't know if you can do it more than once. I should probably just do it again as maybe a different person or something. I didn't say that though. You didn't hear that here. Yeah, I don't know. Bad things. We're going to move on to good things because things are getting depressing.
What do you want to jump to?
I don't know. We have 900 series rumors. Maybe not a bad idea. Yeah. That's kind of fun. Huh? All right, so Zotac GTX 970 and 980 prices were leaked. Of course, this is still kind of rumor mill level stuff, but Previous rumors had them at $399 for the 970 and $499 for the 980, and now it's looking a little bit more extreme, like the 980 being at around $700 to $770, and the 970 being $430 to $500. But again, these are rumors, and one really big thing that I'm thinking about, which I've seen other people post, so this isn't necessarily an original idea. I should bring this up. Rip. I'm not usually the one that controls the screen, so it's very foreign for me to do this. This was posted by Tech Fanatic on the forum, our resident AMD awesome man, and I think a lot of it has to do with being the first and leaking it, and I've heard somewhere that you can do pre-orders, so it's definitely going to be more expensive if you're going to be able to pre-order. We see that a lot of times with especially computer hardware, where in some industries they're like, $5 off if you pre-order, or one really crappy low-grade skin that you're going to buy the other ones for anyways in a video game. But in this one, it's like, no, you pay more money. So kind of unfortunate. I'm hoping that the price drops. I know NVIDIA was talking about how it's supposed to be cheaper. I'm hoping they weren't just saying how it would be cheaper for them to manufacture. And honestly, I really expect that there's going to be pretty much no difference. I expect it to cost pretty much the exact same amount as this year's did. I wouldn't be surprised if the tier grades cost the same amount as the previous tier grades. So a 980 will probably cost just as much as a 780 did. Why they skipped 800?
And 300.
I was confused enough when they skipped 300. I'm like,
just why?
Wait,
just why? It's
wait.
a name.
My buddy has a 460. I have a 260. Is that's massively better, or is that just like a normal amount better? Really kind of annoying. I'm wondering, you and I were actually speculating what NVIDIA's going to do.
Yeah, what is it? Are they going to screw it up too? Or...
Because AMD, not so great on the naming scheme. Not a fan. It should not go 280, 285, 280X. That should never have been possible. It should not be a thing. And I really hope NVIDIA doesn't throw it under the bus. We forgot to do a Twitter Blitz.
Twitter Blitz.
We wanted to Twitter Blitz about... we're not going to do it here, actually. We're going to do it on the desktop where it looks better. Twitter. Here we go. So what we're talking about right now is the net neutrality thing, and the 4 megabits per section shouldn't be upped for broadband. So this guy says numbers on net neutrality thing. I'm not going to be clicking on very many links, but this is fairly interesting. You guys can't see this very well. Here we go. You guys can see it a little bit. So 2,039,500 people took action. 303,099 calls were made. Let's try and scroll down. Very small amounts. There we go. 2,167,092 emails sent to Congress. That's pretty intense. 722,364 comments filed to the FCC, and 4.7 million comments filed since March 1st.
Wow.
That's awesome. Good work, everyone.
But now we can't click on any more links, because now the troll links are just going to start
flooding. Exactly. Links are done. Over. No Rick Astley...
at Control-Alt-Delete, you know, he got his link in, and it's over now.
Good work at Control-Delete.
Good timing.
Ashley says 4 megabits per second is way too slow. I think that's a very accurate kind of general consensus.
Someone else tweeted, I want to get his name here. Shoot, I can't see it. Someone else tweeted that his phone gets better speeds.
It probably does.
Corey Barnwell. There we go.
Tommy Boy 5025 says there should not be a set standard for broadband, as bandwidth is always increasing and broadband standards should move with the trend. I completely agree.
That's aces in my book.
Yeah.
Tommy Boy 5025. I think you already called him out.
Fluid terms should not be fixed. They're fluid terms. It's literally in the name.
Yep.
I don't know if that's actually the official name for what they are, but like it's not a static definition, so it shouldn't be a static definition. That's what I'm trying to say. Another guy confirming that 2 million people sent emails to Congress because of the internet slow day. Like, how do they not get this by now?
It's money. It's got to be.
America, go back to being land of the people. Claim what is rightfully yours.
Now, if you buy out a Samsung phone, it's obviously more expensive.
No one should pay for a Samsung phone to get an Nexus phone. Yeah.
But when you get a plan, like I do all the time, because I don't buy out my phones because I'm not that ballin'.
We've talked about it on the show before. It really depends what's happening, because if you're jumping on a contract, that completely breaks the game. If you're buying out, of course, I don't see anyone
totally
buying
separate.
anything. Yeah, I don't see anyone buying anything outside of like Nexus, OnePlus, and maybe a Moto Maker phone. So like a Moto X. That's pretty much. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something else in there. I might be missing something.
I don't know anyone who buys out a Samsung device. Yeah, it's the way I have mine, the way my mom and dad have theirs, the way my buddies had theirs when they were grabbing S3s. People are kind of splitting off now. We had a big S3 rush in our group of friends when it came out. But yeah, everyone seemed to grab one up. But they're all through contract. And the contracts don't really change. Maybe minorly, maybe $50 or nothing, and that's on your startup for your 3 years. Yeah, so it's all different, but
yeah. And I don't think I can knock him out anyways. So moving on. You know what? Just slow down the entire internet. Actually, let's just kill it. It's the best option for them all. I would prefer not. I like my job.
Yeah, I like the internets.
Here's the comment from Corey Barnwell that
there we go,
I believe you read earlier. My phone gets better speed than broadband. That's just like, come on, guys. Dun, 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 dun. For most people, 4 megabits per second is fine. Average Joe doesn't care about HD, but improvements is always better, especially for the future. I don't actually necessarily agree with you. By the way, you're awesome. I met you at PAX, and that was actually really cool. But Average Joe is now watching Netflix. And Average Joe watching Netflix is going to tell when his screen goes bleh and looks more pixely, because Netflix jumps down a section because his internet takes a tiny dip and he has crappy 4 megabit per second and probably isn't on high def anyways. And I know a lot of Average Joe that are going to be watching Netflix on their TV are really into the fact that they have a nice 1080p TV.
Exactly.
And they're going to notice when their Netflix content looks way crappier than their other content, and they're going to want something more. So I don't actually agree with you in this stance, because of Average Joe watching so much Netflix now. If you go back a couple of years,
I can see where he's going.
Yes,
I can see the idea behind. But especially now with phones, like, you see all these Average Joe guys, and I know when I work with a lot of truckers who are just totally not in tech at all, their phones are getting bigger and crazier, and they like them. You know what I mean? Like when my dad just picked up an S4, got it real cheap.
Yeah.
He did not care about his phone. He was telling me he wasn't going to go through with the deal if it wasn't, if it was too expensive. He won't put it down. He will not get off the phone.
Candy Crush.
Candy Crush. That's not the only game, but he's playing a bunch of different games, and he's always like, he's talking to it, using Google Now. I just bought him a Chromecast yesterday. You know what I mean? He's using the Chromecast.
I'm sure he'll love that.
Like, he's all over it. And I think more and more people with the technology sitting in their hand, like Mom got a background that when you swipe, it changes. Blew her mind, right? Which is cool. Like, she's happy, I'm happy, right? Everybody's happy. But I think the Average Joe, because of phones especially, and because of Netflix, like two things, basically television and the phone in their hands, is becoming bigger, stronger devices which consume more inherently. I think the Average Joe is starting to talk about it. We turned this blitz into a
really
trench.
long discussion. Yeah.
But
we drove down and camped out for the long battle.
We did.
But it's the Average Joe is starting to consume more, and I think that ties back into a comment that was said by someone else and by me earlier, which is where it's a fluid definition that's changing, because what the Average Joe is doing is fluid and changing. I'm gonna go.
You could go to the topic.
I don't know how to pronounce this name. That's why I was kind of hovering above it. It's super cool, but I don't know how to say that O. I'm gonna say Surin. Surin Dietz Fugelslang.
Too bad we can't get a sound clip of him saying it.
Yeah, I have no. Sorry if I just butchered the crap out of your name. He says, and that's why we don't like AT&T as a sponsor for the show. Please jump on the forum. I think you'll be able to find the post specifically through Linus's Twitter, and he has a post talking about the sponsorship thing way in there, because Linus will be reading everything in that topic, and we'll see where to go from there. Other than that, that's about all I have to say. Going up very slowly in the comments. Way more notifications. No, I shifted to the side. Okay.
Here, I'll move my laptop. There you go.
We're good. We're good. I got 100 megabit down and 5 megabit up. I think ISPs should really stop only make asynchron internet connections available. What?
Just scroll down to the next one.
I get way faster on my 4G than pile of crap 4 megabit per second. That's actually pretty beast.
Now,
That's
I got
a
a
really
question
quick
for you,
connection.
and something that I hope
see
some
it.
of our viewers are wondering about, because I've always wondered this, because I've never done it. Have you ever uploaded from your LTE phone?
We did. I don't remember what the results were.
Because
We
the
did, though.
stats it gives you are insane, and I just want to see if the stats actually measure up to real life experience. But I guess that's one for another time. But
Right. It's. I hear you. Again, those are that'll be megabit, and a lot of times when you're doing file transfers, the file transfer is read in megabyte,
right, yeah.
so it doesn't feel like you're getting the same, and you feel like you're getting chipped out. But it's because there's that like 8x ratio between them, because of like a bit being a single.
I still pronounce it wrong and mess them up. I really got to tighten that down.
I noticed it in the. It's a pet peeve for me just because I've taken so many networking courses, but I noticed it in the intro. I think.
Oh,
you
did
said
I do the
I
right?
think you
I
said
probably
byte
did the
instead of
wrong one.
bit.
I did.
Not a big deal. Pokeplun says, I don't know what you get there in Vancouver, but here in Edmonton, 4 megabit per second is considered value. And I hear you. The internet connections out here aren't fantastic either. We have to pay a pretty hefty amount to get above that. But that doesn't mean that the definition should necessarily change. Just because the internet in Canada and places like Australia, I always have to call you guys out whenever we talk about internet because it's horrible over there.
The next comment is actually perfectly about Australia.
Is it? There we
Yeah,
go.
the
I'm
next-
I'm going to move down,
Not to leave you,
but keep talking
Pokemon,
about the
but
previous one. Just because we are lagging behind doesn't mean that the definition shouldn't change. What people are trying to do in our areas is still increasing at the same rate. We're getting these options that are available around the world. That's not necessarily true. I was just going to say Netflix. Netflix isn't actually available everywhere.
no, I
That-
don't think so.
Is available around the world with certain things like VPNs, which apparently makes you a pirate despite paying for the service, but whatever. The definition shouldn't be held back by us just because our ISPs are jerks and push people like Verizon out of the country. When, while I might not necessarily be a huge fan of Verizon,
Competition
would have helped. And I was stoked for them coming in. Not because I would have switched to their service, but because hopefully our services would have either improved in their deployments, so I would have been able to get a faster internet connection, or would have gone down in price. I was hoping for, honestly, either one of those. This is scary. America's making Australian internet look good. I don't know if it's at that point yet. I don't know. Because their internet connections are still much faster in most places. They're just not changing the definition. Australian internet's pretty bad, man. I know you're probably trying to like give yourself a +1, but it's pretty bad. A lot of people are just talking about using a VPN is not a
Broadband
solution
is
for
worse
bad
than
ISP
Bluetooth.
problems. It may avoid ISP filtering, but it doesn't solve the underlying problem. I completely agree with you. That's not what I was trying to say. I was just trying to say VPNing so you could get Netflix, which is getting out of filtering. Or allowing yourself to actually buy the service, or allowing yourself to get the American one, which usually has way more stuff on it. I wasn't trying to say that you like. Yeah, that's not what I was trying to say. I think we're done with Twitter Blitz for now. That was, like you
fun.
said, we carved some trenches.
We did.
We dug deep. We built fortresses. We didn't really blitz. We built a defensive line and
One or two
slowly
we
crept
blitzed.
forward.
One
Yeah.
we specifically blitzed.
Yes, yeah,
Really.
yeah. But anyways, moving on. I had forgotten that we had said we were going to do that Twitter Blitz. I'm going to jump down and do sponsor spots now because our sponsors are awesome this week. And lynda.com. So if you go to lynda.com/WAN show, you get a free 7-day trial. I believe it's $25 a month if you want to jump on it. I know one of our editors, Taryn, who's unfortunately out right now because lynda.com couldn't teach him how to not have tendonitis because that they don't even try. That makes no sense at all. But it could teach him how to be a better editor. So he's been learning Premiere tricks on there for a long time, and you can actually see that in a lot of our fastest possible episodes because he's done a lot of the editing for that, and they're
Can I
really
just
cool.
jump in again? I was
Yes.
complimenting you guys on the forum.
I like it when you jump in because you just make us look cool.
Fast as possible is fantastic.
I know.
I love that
It's
stuff.
great.
This is not IT isn't unfortunately my full-time job. I don't get to delve into it constantly. It's an excellent channel.
Part-time
I've learned a
job, though.
bunch. Yeah, part-time job. But I've learned a bunch from that channel. If you're unfamiliar with that channel, check it out. It's exactly as they say it is. It's very quick. It's very efficient. They get to the topic. Sometimes it's a little funny. Like you get a little laugh in there. You get a bunch of information, and you're done.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. Sorry, continue.
And we're constantly hunting for more definitions. The way I like describing it, we're off the lynda.com thing, but the way I like describing it is, if this is how I describe it to non-techies, because I'm trying to like make them understand what the point of the channel is, because there's stuff on there for techies too, because there's some pretty high-end terms, but there's also like very simple things as well. So how I try to describe it is, if you walk into a store and you're reading a label and you don't understand one of the terms on the label, you should be able to go to TechWiki, type in that term, and there should be a Fast as Possible episode on it.
It's a great way to describe it.
And if there isn't yet, suggest it to us, and we'll try to get one done. Anyways, lynda.com can teach you a whole whack ton of stuff. I think they have over like thousands of courses, and they add new ones all the time, so it's great. And I especially suggest it. I do this every single time I talk about lynda.com, but I especially suggest it for people that are, say, in high school and want to, even if you're not, but say this is my use case specifically. If you're in high school and you're into programming and you want to go to post-secondary for programming, you can get a huge, massive, very like noticeable leg up on people by jumping on lynda.com and learning things like Java and Python and your more introductory languages, because you'll probably be learning that for, if not your first term, your first 2 terms.
Yep.
Like there's a lot of different places they start you off with Java and stuff. So if you can learn the fundamentals before you go to school to learn the fundamentals, you'll get really good grades in those classes and be rolling more easily. And then when they hit you with new stuff, it'll be easier for you to transition, because you'll hopefully be still carrying along with lynda.com.
It'll be just less stressful.
That's exactly my point. And you can manage. You can deal with other stuff which could be stressful, like living in a new area and not having your friends there and having to figure out how to buy food and dealing with having no money and other stuff.
You have a lot of stuff to deal with. I think we both went through it.
Yeah.
Kind of different experiences, but kind of the same. And again, he wasn't joking. They're going to hit you with Java. If you are going down this path, they're going to hit you with Java.
Not every school hits you with Java immediately, but I can pretty much guarantee you that you'll be learning Java at some point.
Try and escape it. There's your challenge.
Yeah. Despite what I may think of Java, not a huge fan personally. You'll learn it at some point. The next sponsor is kind of a show, actually. It's Mod 24. It's happening on September 18th at 6 p.m. Linus and I have to somehow figure out how to survive for 20 hours on stream.
I was going to add that Nick was going over the schedule, and I was kind of listening while I was prepping for the show we're doing here. I know you're pretty tough. You know. And someone was asking, I am the older brother. I brought you up a little tough, I think.
Yeah.
Good luck. It's going to be rough. You are in for it.
Yeah. My intro thing was, if we don't die, it'll be an interesting stream, and if we do
wasn't
die,
exaggerating.
It'll be a fantastic stream.
I thought that, they're assuming there's much more exaggeration than what is actually going on. Your guys' schedule is nuts.
We're going to be working a full day the day before, and then we're going to have to plan and pack and everything that night, and then take off at a pretty early flight, land, have 2 or 3 hours before we have to be at meetings for the pre-show, then stream for 24 hours, and then do the WAN show right afterwards. So we're going to get like 6-7 hours of sleep, and then be awake for like 40 hours.
Yep.
And be on camera for like almost the whole duration. No, it'll be probably 25 and a half hours on camera.
Yeah.
Cool. Don't know how we're going to survive that. I know we have a few plans kind of that we're bouncing back and forth, like kind of shift work kind of thing. One thing I really want to do, which I don't know if we're going to be able to get working, is if you've watched the old Iron Chef, not the American Iron Chef, I don't remember where it was actually technically from, but the old Iron Chef, when the guy goes out amongst the cooks, he's like, squeeze on! Blah, 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 blah. This is happening. It's super cool. I want to be that guy. I want to be out amongst the builders. Squeeze on, or sorry, Linus. This cool guy is cooking up an amazing computer. I don't know. I think that could be awesome. So tune in 6 p.m. September 18th. Watch Linus and I die while a whole bunch of modders try to actually make really cool systems. There's 3 teams. There will be 1 champion. Come watch to figure out who it will be.
Come check it out. I'll be watching it on my second monitor there. I'll be in chat. So
I'm gonna try and pay attention to the chat as much as I possibly can and see if someone can make it through the entire time.
Oh wow. See, yeah, that's the one name.
And like I'm gonna track you too. I want you to show up to WAN show as well.
Oof.
So 25 and a half hours. I want to see if anyone can make it, because I don't know. It's going to be pretty intense. We will see. And that's it for sponsor segmenty stuff and types and things. I feel like Philip DeFranco.
Types and things,
Types and things, yeah. Destiny makes almost just said $250 million.
All the money.
Real number sounded too ridiculous. Destiny makes $500 million in the first 24 hours of sales.
Wow.
Which is insane. It is the biggest new IP launch in gaming history. The previous record was held by Watch Dogs, although the totals are not readily available, probably because after their immediate launch, the sales went like that because it was not what it was said to be, and I know the PC guys at least were totally not stoked, and I know the console guys were like, it's not really as cool as you thought it was going to be. Fed?
That works.
Fed's a pretty interesting word. Yeah, everyone got it. Said it was going to be. It is the highest selling one-day digital console release in history, which that's not nearly as surprising because as time goes on, we're doing a lot more digital stuff.
Now, with all that said, are you excited for the PC version?
Well, if
I said that wrong. If there is a PC version.
Yeah.
If that world exists.
As far as I know, it's kind of a no at this point. But at the same time, as far as I know, they haven't actually said no. Which, as far as we've seen,
haven't said
lately, is actually pretty indicative that it will happen.
Just months later.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably after the holiday season.
Yeah, exactly.
GTA.
When no one has any money left in January, I think 27th, GTA 5. It'll come out at the worst possible time. I'm pretty stoked. It looks cool, to be honest. It doesn't look by a console cool.
No, I haven't seen anything that looks by a console cool.
Possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, buy a next-gen console cool. I know many things that are by a console cool because they're on Wii U.
I was just going to say, Wii U.
Wii U's pretty awesome.
And I still think it has more high-def games than next-gen.
I wonder how long that'll last. That's pretty great. Hopefully forever. Yeah. With the new Smash Bros coming out and stuff and those new DLC for Mario Kart, I'm pretty stoked on Wii U lately. I don't know, it's interesting that they made a whole butt ton of money, but I don't really care that much because it's not on PC. At least yet. Are you interested for it coming to PC? Is that a game?
I am, and I think it's completely because of all the history with Halo.
Yeah.
I fell off kind of at 3, but 1 and 2 were huge. 2, that was when I was going very small school in the States, and the school was very tech focused. And so we all had LAN connections in our room, which was kind of a bigger deal because it was 2006.
Yeah. And
we all plugged in. A lot of guys had Xboxes, and we would play Halo against each other, and it landed incredibly well. It worked incredibly well, and we had tons of games.
Are legit.
Halo LANs are Halo 2 was huge. When we'd be in our dorm rooms, and you'd kill somebody, and then you'd hear them running down the hall, and they'd hit you with something. Nothing ever a pillow or something. You know what I mean? Or they'd yell at you, and then they run back to their room, and maybe you could kill them before they got there. But there was just a lot of good, warm, fuzzy feelings, that came from playing that game. So yeah, it kind of has me a little bit excited. I'm also kind of excitable, but hopefully, if it comes out, it could be pretty cool. Because the other thing is, just to keep rambling on about it, there's not a lot of PC shooters that have me really excited right now. There's Go, but Counter-Strike will always be a thing. Yeah, hopefully, and it's continuing to grow. And Counter-Strike Go's great. Check that out. But there's not a lot of lately the games I've been playing. There's really no shooters that I can really. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe you guys let me know in the Twitch chat, or maybe you can let me know. But I'm not aware of any big shooters that I'm really interested in right now.
Because COD just drained the whole
killed the industry. Yeah.
I'm wondering if someone's going to pipe up in Twitch chat and bring up a name of a shooter that I haven't really been thinking of. Tribes Ascend, yeah, but also no.
That's something I could look into. See, TF2, I did play TF2 when it originally came out.
But it's not, I think you're talking more about new games. A lot of people are saying Toxic. That's a good point.
Toxic? I don't think it's
know much about Toxic. Out yet, though.
I knew somebody would let us know.
Why is it not doing the scrolling thing? But Toxic is supposed to be a PC-only thing, right? I can't even select the chat to Google search it right now. It's not spelt right, though. I talked about it on a previous stream. I know I have. It's spelt weird. Someone will say it right. Warframe. Not into Warframe. Played that. Wasn't super stoked.
I haven't heard of Toxic. That's definitely something I'll have to look up.
It's so hard to read. It's going so quickly, and it's not doing the scroll lock thing for some reason. TOX IKK.
I think I saw that.
TOX IKK. You got that. You got that backwards a little bit. TOX IKK.
There we go. Okay.
Dun, 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 dun. Now I think this is like a PC only. I'm actually pretty stoked for this. I can't believe I didn't think about this. I talked about it on a stream earlier. It's my favorite thing about their trailer is they talk about all the things it's not. There's no like leveling system. There's none of that crap. And then they're like free to play, and I'm like, oh god, and then not. And I was like, yeah! I was so happy.
Oh man,
it was so good. I remember that stream now because I was watching the trailer. Yeah,
I'm on mute.
You'll be able to. You don't even really need the music, to be completely honest. So you can check that out, and maybe I'll move on. But this is actually a super cool trailer. Yeah, by Reactor. They like spelling things all craziness. Back to its roots. It's actually pretty cool. So it looks kind of unreal-y. No classes, no leveling system, like all this kind of stuff. And it's nice because it's a trailer for a game where they're like, we don't have all this junk. Instead of, look, we have all this junk. It's like
it kind of looks like Halo 1 and 2. The feel. Like you
yeah,
were saying, Unreal.
Yeah.
It's kind of...
Yeah, I see the Halo 1 and 2 stuff.
Not exactly, obviously, but...
Yeah. No reload. I actually think that's super cool.
No reload.
I know we're not showing this on stream. I'm sorry, guys. It's on the wrong...
Thank you to those who threw that in the chat, because, again, this is something I just wasn't aware of.
Yeah. I totally forgot. Yeah, Frag Lexus 1999. I thought that was cool.
Double jumps.
Dodge and double jumps. Super cool, yet again. I'm okay with the vehicle stuff. I'm sure they'll have levels without vehicle stuff. Like this one, probably.
Yeah.
Which, again, you guys can't see. I'm sorry. Apparently the toxic site went down. Whoa. Good work, everyone. Yeah.
Well done.
Fantastic. You gotta go back a little
every
bit
one of
to
you.
see the free-to-play not thing.
Oh, okay.
It's at the very end. But either way, I was pretty stoked for that, actually. Luke, are you going to Iraq? Nope.
I don't think we're gonna have any tech conventions there for a little while.
I saw that in the Twitch chat. I was clicking back to the doc, and I was just like, I feel like I need to address this one. I don't know if there's maybe a rumor going around or something, but no. Windows 9 screenshots have leaked, and they look pretty much exactly like we kind of thought they looked.
Now, are you excited for Windows 9?
I am, because it's not Windows 8. Which I know that's super basic.
But it's also the second. Like,
That's my
XP was
point.
good, right?
Yeah.
Should we even...
The one after that was not good. Linus likes it because he's crazy balls. Linus liked it because he had like 24 gigs of RAM, and the fact that it was super inefficient didn't matter. Because he's like, I have a lot of RAM, so it should be okay for everyone! I'm like, that's not how that works.
If he went down to 4, could he notice the difference? He might. 7, I liked 7.
7 was great, and then I'm not a huge fan of 8 at all.
Not a huge fan of 8 either. I think there's definitely some improvements.
There's stuff, like, every once in a while I'm like, oh man, that file transfer is so cool.
It is. The file transfer is cool.
And, like, Task Manager's
Task Manager's fantastic. If you could take Windows 7, give me that transfer and give me the Task Manager.
And the performance. Windows 8.1 actually performs better in games than Windows 7 does.
True.
Which is pretty
Take
cool.
those 3, attach those to Windows 7.
Be super stoked.
I'm happy for a decade.
And then the next thing is, I just don't like how it looks, which brings us to Windows 9. I don't really like the blocky style.
The squares, the
Why
rectangles.
squares?
I don't...
Windows 7 looks really good. Look at this start button down in the corner. Ooh.
Yeah, it's nice.
A circle. It's like they made a square image and put a circle in the middle and then had a transparent background. Whoa.
Groundbreaking.
Instead of putting a big color on the screen and then putting a white block for whatever your icon is for everything. Why are you doing that? Stop. It doesn't... No, go away. I don't know. This might not be shared for everyone. It's an aesthetic thing, so there's definitely people out there that are going to like it. And that's just me. But there's some cool stuff. I don't actually mind the new start menu. I'm hoping that it has a few different things. I'm hoping, one, that there's an option to get rid of the Metro style stuff on the right,
Yep.
even though I will leave it on if you're able to custom configure everything that's there, which I'm sure you're able to. Because it would be cool to be able to put different games and stuff, especially if games, mainly games, and not like their games app, but individual games, would have these different size block icons that you could utilize. Because that could be pretty cool, especially if like the main game that you play, if you wanted the wide landscape mode button for it, and it had like a really cool looking Metro button.
Or if you could pick what is the image for that
Yeah,
button, right?
so
if you can upload your own or
screenshot your own and crop it and then put it on, which that might even be a thing.
Because
I think that could be pretty cool.
It could be pretty cool.
So I don't necessarily mind that.
Something I stole from you, which I'm not even sure if you do still, but is no icons on your desktop.
Yeah, I do that. I still do that.
It's sweet.
Yeah.
It looks so cool.
Yeah,
I can't even... It was so long ago that I was like, your icons are gone. And I was a little confused, but it was beautiful at the same time. And then I completely adopted that, and I still do that today. So, like you were saying, if you could have that, as you can see on... Well, you can't see my hand here, but if you could change those icons out, you could have your beautiful desktop background with your beautiful monitor that you paid a bunch of money for, and everything just looks great. And then when you open your start menu, you can have all the icons you want with the pictures you want.
Really cool, because if you do all the pictures you want for the again, I'm going to say games, but the reason why I'm saying games isn't necessarily just because we're gamers, but it's because I feel like you get a lot of really cool artwork.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense.
I'm excited. I think it'll do pretty well. I'm just looking at the chat. There seems to be a lot of people who do like Windows 8, and I don't hate Windows 8, but there's some things I don't really appreciate.
For me, it's like the deeply rooted permission stuff.
Yeah.
And I know you can get around a lot of the start menu-y problems, which is why I haven't brought that up, by installing your own start menus and stuff, which you should not have to do, for one.
Yeah.
But I find whenever I use Windows 8 for an extended period of time, no matter what I do, something always creeps through. Something will always creep through and mess with me. I know Terran's system has serious issues because he's running dual monitors, which should not be a thing.
I don't like this.
Yeah, the like highlighty pop-up stuff, which you can make go away, but then sometimes it's frustrating again. The search is just craptastic. I don't know. I
felt like the Windows 7 search was completely superior.
Yeah.
For at least how I use it, the Windows 7 search I felt was a lot better.
Yeah. Native arrow is good. I was happy to see. I mean, I'm happy to see that. Yeah. I don't know. Not a ton of information, just some random like screenshot leaks. I know Microsoft has not commented yet. Let me see here.
I am pretty excited for it, though.
They're still not finalized. The Verge says that the screenshots are genuine, so honestly, they probably are. That new search button thing, just to the right of start, there's a magnifying glass search button thing, despite there being a search thing on the start, so I'm not sure what that's there for. I guess we'll see later. And Microsoft has not commented. Sorry, what were you saying?
I was just saying I'm pretty excited for Windows 9.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things could come together to make a really great operating system again.
Again, just like we did with Windows 8, probably not immediately at launch, but a little bit afterwards, we'll do performance benchmarks, because that's one really big thing with Windows 8 is you get better system performance, especially when playing games. It's like a huge, awesome benefit.
Yep, definitely.
Here's an interesting article that I'm not really sure what I feel about, including with the guy who posted its name, because this was posted by Anal Powder.
I was just going to call him Butt Powder.
Butt Powder? AP?
Yeah. When I was casting some StarCraft, there was an individual named Poo. T-O-O. Great StarCraft player.
I remember that.
Intelligent person. Why would he name himself that? I don't know. But we would refuse, the guy I was casting with and myself, we would absolutely refuse to call him that. So we'd come up with an absolute abundance of ways to refer to him. But yeah, we just refused. So you can do that with forum members too. You know, you could change it up as much as you want.
I'm going to call him
Baby Powder.
Access Point.
Access Point.
Because AP.
I like it.
You are now named Access Point.
So Access Point on the forum.
Anyways, the GTX 980 will not beat GeForce GTX 780 Ti. This was on Kit Guru, and that's actually all I'm really going to show of that screen, because it's not helpful to you guys to see that, because it's all text. And apparently what's going on here is the GM204 chip is not supposed to replace or outperform GK110 necessarily. So cards like 780 Ti and Titan Black should apparently not outperform a 980, because it's not supposed to replace those ones. It's more there to replace GK104, which is, I guess, maybe. But all this really means is that when they launch with their flagship of 980 and then tear down a little bit, we're just going to have to wait even longer for them to release like 980 Ti. And then that one will be faster than the 780 Ti, I guess. It's a little bit weird. Again, we're getting swamped in not very good graphics card naming schemes.
Why is that a thing? Could that just not be a thing? Could
I
we
know
just like
there's-
write a letter with a pen and like paper and an envelope? You know those letter things that we used to have? Can we write a letter and be like, please stop?
I wonder if that would work.
STAHP. Stop. Just
I wonder if that would work for net neutrality if we wrote physical letters. We're like, hey, can you read this? Maybe you can't read emails because your internet's so bad because you think broadband at 0.4, 0.5 megabits per second or megabytes per second is a thing. I don't know. Of course, reading emails on that is fine.
I just feel like naming shouldn't be hard.
No.
Like I don't know. If I don't know.
Also, the cards are said to have 4 gigabytes of GDDR5, which is not necessarily higher than certain other cards. But other later versions, like custom cooler featured cards, should have 8 gigabytes. Maybe. We're expecting that would be an option. So it's not super surprising rumors, just kind of disappointing because we're all hoping for that flagship card to just crush everything in its path and move on. So it's possible that it will not. Again, though, nothing's released, and we have no official benchmarking numbers. So let's all just kind of hold tight and wait, because that makes the most sense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then we will see what happens. Next up, I keep on going to reach to change what screen I'm on before I've opened the correct screen. Next up is Accursed Entity, talking about how the GTX 770 will have a reduced price. Lots of NVIDIA news this week. But this is actually kind of AMD news at the same time, because they're reducing this price for it to compete with the 285, because the 760 kind of lost, and that was its direct competition. So I think they're dropping the 770 to try and make it look more attractive for people looking at that price point. I believe it is still like $25 more. Roughly the same price as factory overclock 285s, so not reference ones. It's about $25 American more expensive than the cheapest 285. Interesting. I don't know. I'm not surprised at all. NVIDIA seems to be doing this. And this actually ties into the talk earlier where we were saying even if we didn't want to switch to Verizon, it still would have been better that they came into Canada because competition. NVIDIA would not have dropped this price if it wasn't for the 285 coming in and actually doing quite well. If the 285 didn't come in and look very attractive for people wanting to buy graphics cards, NVIDIA wouldn't have dropped the price of the 770 because all they're trying to do is they saw the possibility of a surge of people no longer buying their graphics cards. And they were like, hey, you should probably buy our graphics cards because look, oh my god, they're cheaper now.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for 285 coming in and stomping them.
No, of course not. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. There's not a ton of in-depth stuff for the graphics card news this week, but I don't know. Still interesting. It's another, as if we needed more of them, reference as to why competition is good. The next article that we have, we're looking at the doc again, which is fantastic. The next article that we have is by Victoria's Secret, and this is the article that we were talking about.
This is an amazing forum post.
Yes.
What kind of started me on that launch of, you guys are doing a fantastic job. This one started. So if you scroll with me, we're going to look at the sizes here. iPhone 5S sporting a 4-inch screen. I know my grandfather was up visiting for a little bit. He's got a 5S. It really felt tiny. It felt small, minuscule maybe, I guess you could say. Apple realized this, and I'm kind of a hater. The iPhone 6 will now have a 4.7-inch screen, and the Plus will come out with a 5.5-inch screen. So they're going big.
I found it quite interesting that they didn't even have an option at all for a 4-inch screen, which would have parred their previous phone, especially with how Jobs always used to talk about offering the I don't remember what he called that size, but like what he kind of thought was the best size.
The optimal.
And
they're
just
going
totally
completely
ditched.
away from what he said they were going to do.
Yeah.
They would never release a budget iPhone. iPhone 5C came out very quickly. They would never release a tablet. I believe he stated what size. The iPad mini is smaller than that. So they're actually going away from a lot of things that he said they would do. Well, we'll see how it plays out for them in the long run. Because if you look at the history of Apple, basically what...
I'm going to guess not well.
Yeah, it could get worse for them. Like, there's silly things like, I think you can see it on screen right now. We're seeing that the iPhone is getting thinner.
Oh God.
Which I don't believe even
I'll find the camera.
at my at my fire hall. There's a guy who has every Mac device on the planet. His whole ecosystem is Mac. He had the 3GS, the 4, the 4S, the 5, the 5S. Will now have the 6 Plus. He's confirmed with me. No one cares about the thinness of this phone. No one does. What they do care about is the battery, which they, instead of keeping the phone at a 7.6 millimeter, which I can't tell you what half a millimeter is. I can't do that. Canadian school. I can't do that with my fingers. It's too small.
Where's the really
the
good
battery
picture?
should have been improved. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, there's what there. This is the picture that I liked. No, it wasn't. Where is it? He has one in here.
There's a better one.
His post is so good that there's too much information. It's not in the watch stuff, so I'll jump back up to here. You can see a big bump on the camera. I'm gonna circle it with my mouse right now. Big old bump, and what a ton of people have been saying, this is we're not the first people to say this at all, is they should have just left the phone a little bit thicker and not had a freaking bump on the camera and had a bigger battery. How did you not think of these things? I know why, because you don't have jobs anymore. What are you doing?
This is going to be a little odd comment, but if it's laying down flat, how is that bump going to awkwardly affect how it sits? Also, if it moves across like a table, if there's something to catch where it would be sliding, flat, will it catch? Will that become a problem? Will it become
possibly be good for it?
A fragile point? Will it...
I'm assuming, now I don't know, and I probably should have looked into this, that they're going to have like bumper style cases, which will
I'm sure the cases will
with the camera.
I'm sure the cases will have to coordinate for it.
Yeah.
But a big thing is, I know you've said that you don't like cases on your phone.
No.
Like one of your big problems with, and we forgot to actually talk about how the Note 4 is constructed.
Yeah.
You're a really big fan of how it's made.
Very solid.
You really hated the backs on the old Samsung phones.
Horrible.
Right? Personally, I don't really care that much. Because if I grab my phone, I'm pretty much always going to have one of these guys on it.
Yeah. I don't have my phone on me, but I pretty much never have a case on it.
But it's an excellent, and we don't actually differ on that much, but that's just one of the random things that we differ on. But it makes a difference. How your phone is going to fit, especially with a premium device, it matters how your phone is going to fit without a case, without that extra, protection. It needs to function on its own so people like Luke and people like yourself can have that experience. How's that going to work?
Because, and I was really excited when I saw this video because I was like, yay, he agrees with me. But Marcus Brownlee released a video on why he doesn't use a case on his phone. So if he's releasing that video, that automatically means that a whole bunch of people aren't going to be doing it because a lot of people follow him, which is fantastic because he's really good at what he does. But you can't just, I don't know. It seems like such a crap compromise. And not something that would have been done if Steve Jobs was still there to lead the ship.
I just make it that, what was it, 0.5? I could be wrong. I got to scroll back up here to see the numbers. I believe it's 0.5 millimeters. Like, take it up to that slightly larger thickness that no one cares about and insert a better battery. Just grab some more milliamps.
This is
improve your battery.
The biggest conversation that goes around right now with smartphones and even smart watches is battery.
Batteries and smartwatches is huge. We're going to talk about the 360 in a minute or two here. First, we'll talk about the Apple Watch. I almost said iWatch. Batteries are a huge deal. Batteries are what's holding back the entire industry. You could put an i7 in your phone. You can't power it. Batteries... I'll stop my rant right there. But batteries are the issue.
One of my favorite things, I'm trying to find it right now. Here it is, yeah. I like his commentary, Victoria's Secret commentary through this
amazing post.
Oh shit, it's about to go down. Sorry for swearing. I think, and then it's like, one more thing, which you're at an Apple conference, so just so you know, we're not done yet, because they say one more thing every single time. And he's like, watch. I mean, con. No, I mean watch. Awesome. I love his commentary through this. It's fantastic. I really like what Brown Ninja and Victoria's Secret have been doing, making their posts very much their own. Their watch looks super boring, except for the band, which is awesome. But then again, the actual watch is like not interesting at all. I've heard tell that the 18 karat gold version is going to be like $1,600 or $1,700 or something.
If you're buying an 18 karat gold version Apple Watch, you're probably not watching this. Let's just be serious.
Yeah, and you probably don't care that it's that expensive, but still.
No.
They do, other than the ridiculous things that are potentially on your screen with the icons, they do look pretty cool because of the band again, and all the different customizable options you can have with the band.
They're nailing the band, which I
Yes.
believe other smartwatches aren't
Yes,
necessarily, but they're nailing the band.
especially the Qualcomm Talk, they didn't nail the band on that one. But
Not necessarily the actual
this
watch.
like weird astral storm of icon bubbles that you have to like zoom in on with your side dial.
What the heck? Excuse me. What the heck is that?
It moved him to hiccups.
It did.
That's how amazing that was.
What the heck is that? What is going on?
They're
So
saying
instead
that, they're
of-
saying that it's not big enough of a screen to properly do like pinch and whatever unpinch is. What is this?
The
Moving apart
unpinch.
your fingers.
We're naming it.
Unpinch. Okay.
finger spread.
They're saying it's not big enough to do that properly with.
Then don't. Don't the
Yeah.
other iWatches actually get or iWatches? Don't the other smartwatches get around that?
You
Isn't
sound
it
like
mostly...
those. I'm going to segue a little bit. You sound like those the NFL guys that called.
They're calling all the Surface. They put what is it like $440 million?
NFL got a $400 million contract to show off the Microsoft Surface, and then the announcers called them iPads.
Then they keep calling them iPads.
Oh,
Imagine you were the Microsoft rep.
I would be so cheesed.
How can you not be cheesed? They're literally
Oh,
advertising for their opponents.
Yeah.
After they put in a ton of money. And if you look, I actually saw a picture on that same article. When they go see the replay, like the side of it says Microsoft Surface HD and all this kind of stuff. They have the naming in the appropriate spots, and they even have these coaches where if you don't follow football, you won't know any of the names, but that's totally fine. They have these older school coaches using them and actually using them on the site, not just product play, like they're actually using them. It's kind of a big deal, and it's especially bringing advertisement to a market that might not be extremely educated on things like the Surface.
Yeah.
And yeah, wow, screwed by the announcers.
It's just ridiculous. Not even in the doc. I thought about it.
No,
when
it's
you,
not
when
in the
you said
doc.
the
Your dog is
iWatches
up again,
thing.
though.
There we go. I'm in the right one. God, I'm never the one that controls the screen, so it's so weird for me to do it now. Again, the bands look really cool, but I'm just super not stoked. And speaking of super not stoked, let's move on to the Moto 360, because I was like, I am going to buy this. And then now that people have actually been talking about it.
You guys were talking about on your last stream, I believe. You were saying you might be.
Yeah, because I was pretty sold on a Moto 360 and a Moto X. And now I'm not entirely sure if I'm sold on either. Awkward. It's been 1 week.
That's tech. That's why we need fluid definitions.
Oh, yes.
Things change in a week.
Exactly.
In a week.
Yeah. Speaking of you, broadband. Jumping down here a little bit, this is Geekbench. This is not what we're looking for. Battery life. Android Wear notification test. What's up, Moto 360?
Brutal. Nothing's up. They're dead. They're recharging right now.
I am interested in, like, I'm hoping we get one for review, not even necessarily to keep it, because I want to actually wear it and see how long it actually lasts. Because
and how useful you find it. That's the thing I'm really... Because a watch is a fashion statement. Now, can you combine that fashion statement with, some interesting notifications and interacting with your phone well and staying alive? That's a big thing. If it's just dead on your wrist, what's the point? But
sorry, I'm going to interject you for a second. When you said staying alive, the first thing that clicked in my head was, like, survivability. Like, it maybe has a detachable knife or something. I don't know. Sorry, keep going.
I don't know. I know you guys were talking about it last week, and this is completely your guys' industry, and it makes sense. I know Linus is all about it, and that's awesome. We need people like that. I'm not sold on smartwatches yet.
Yeah.
They have not sold me, and the 360 sold me on the look.
Yeah.
And I believe we have a comment here. I'm not even going to try a shot at that. Calls the 360 beautiful outside, ugly inside. It is beautiful on the outside. It's the first one that I've even thought that. The Apple Watch, usually...
The band is nice.
They're well known. The band is nice. They're well known for making visually appealing to most people products. I'm not sold. I'm just really not sold on the whole market. There's my
Linus
get rid of my
uses
soapbox.
it, and honestly, if I didn't know Linus so well and if I didn't work with him, I probably wouldn't be sold on them either. But seeing him use it through his day-to-day and seeing his use case for it makes way more sense and has me interested in it, because he's not trying to
See,
do
that's awesome
anything
to
on it.
hear.
He just reads it. So if he receives a text, he can go like this, go, okay, not necessarily important, don't have to deal with it right now, and goes back to what he's doing.
Another thing I read online that was interesting was because we have the whole kind of push. I forget what it's called, but you remember when you'd put your phones in the middle of the table when you're out to eat, and you can't pick up your phone and phone stack, things like that. It kind of helps enable things like that because you're looking at your wrist and you're reading something and you're putting it away without the whole. I'm bringing my phone out.
The problem with phone stack is emergency calls.
Yeah.
So if you get a call from like your mom, maybe you can break the phone stack game. But if you get a call from your buddy, then you can be like, I can't pick it up because it's just my buddy. And that makes more sense.
But just the idea of keeping your phone in your pocket a little bit more and trying to get away from us.
That's exactly, because I feel like I get a lot of messages, like emails and whatnot all the time, and I'm constantly checking my phone, but a lot of the time it's like, I went to another convention and I had to sign up for my badge, and you have to put your email in, and it's another tech convention, so they give it to every single vendor and host there. So I'm just getting spammed like crap, and it's another email that I don't need to check, but it has me constantly doing this, and it would be nice if I could just look at my watch and go, it's spam, and then just be like, whatever, I'll deal with it later. And then once I get down to a desktop, just select a whole bunch of things and report spam and then move on. Yeah.
Well, another thing that just kind of popped into my mind, because I'm always worried about battery life, is would that not inherently assist the battery life on your phone using your watch?
But you are constantly pushing to it with Bluetooth.
That's true.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Unfortunate.
Good point.
Dun, dun.
I wonder how much Bluetooth pushes compared to turning your screen on every, say,
it's
10
actually,
minutes.
right when you said that, like, I know it drains because of the Bluetooth, but I'm really interested now in a benchmark comparing that.
Because screen kills, especially, like, we're looking at this iPhone with a 5.5, I think it is.
Screen?
Yeah, I think 5.7 is the Note 4 and Note 3.
I don't have it up anymore.
But that screen, that's what kills your battery, is having that screen on. Like, people would complain, like, I use mine a ton at work for GPS. It's not the GPS that's killing the battery, it's the fact that your screen is constantly on, constantly being lit. That's what kills your battery. So, yeah, that would be an interesting little test.
I would like to try that, because especially with, like, my Moto X and stuff, I can pull it out without fully turning the screen on, because it just has the quick notification thing. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to compare that versus a phone where you have to unlock it to look at everything versus using a watch and all that kind of stuff. Because it is Bluetooth low power or whatever. Anyways, a lot of this is due to it using a 1 gigahertz single-core Texas Instruments OMAP 3 SoC.
So that's straight out of the old calculators from grade 8? Or is that...
That's pretty ghetto. That's a 2010 era processor. When you're like, 2010 wasn't that long ago. When you're talking about mobile game, 2010 is ancient.
Mom has a tablet that I looked it up. It's from 2011. It feels like a dinosaur.
Yeah, exactly.
In this technology, that's a dinosaur.
It's in the same league as the iPhone 4, not even 4S, or the Nexus 1. It's I don't even know what they were thinking. It's 48 nanometer process? I don't see it in the notes. 45 nanometer process, which, like, dudes, how did you think that was possibly going to be super great on battery life? It's slow. Its battery up to par or is not up to par. Scrolling performance is not great. And like, I know people talk about how performance benchmarks on watches are kind of dumb, and honestly, I kind of think they are too. But if it lags when you're trying to scroll through,
that's a problem. It's going to look bad. It's going to feel uncomfortable.
That's not going to be good at all. I just totally lost internet, which is not good.
I lost it earlier actually, but it came back. But yeah, I think you were saying you don't really like benchmarks on watches, on wearable things like that. But I think the most notable one to pay attention to is the battery life.
Yeah,
the battery life benchmark is huge, because these things, they're not going to last for multiple days. I think it was the Pebble that has the ink push. I'm saying that wrong, and I'm sure I'll be corrected about 100 times in Twitch chat. But with how it uses the ink, the battery life is obviously incredible. But with using full screens, battery life is a big deal. Another device to charge every single night on your bedstand, right? Otherwise, it's not useful.
Wait, someone just said the stream's down. I don't think it is though. I think they're lying. So I think we're fine. Anyways, don't worry about that. I got it. Yeah, he's the only one that said it, so I think we're totally fine.
Should be good. Someone said next topic time, though. They are right about that.
Yeah, okay, so let's move on to...
We've been jumping around so much.
I know, that's actually kind of a problem.
We could talk about NVIDIA starts a legal battle with Samsung and Qualcomm over patent infringement.
See, I really think we talked about this this last
Did we?
week. It says last week never covered, but I'm like pretty freaking sure we did.
You know, I might have missed it because
I remember Linus and I were talking about how Nvidia seems really big in our industry, but compared to Samsung and Qualcomm, they are a very small man.
they are definitely. And reading through the posts on the, we won't beat this one up just in case you did do it last week. And I always watch the timestamps because I'm usually working at this time, so I always go back watch the YouTube timestamps. But someone was saying, Nvidia's gonna crush, but really Samsung is the giant in that arena.
Samsung's kind of a big deal, and I gotta say again, Brown Ninja, good work. That screenshot is beautiful.
It's perfect.
I'll show everyone. Oh, absolutely fantastic. And I like his drop the mic thing too. It's just pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know. That's going to be an interesting battle for them because it is not going to be an easy battle for them at all. Those are two really big players, but they do seem to be in the right. But
yeah,
then again,
from what I read,
it's a kind of messed up system. So sometimes it doesn't matter if you're in the right. It matters that you have a super awesome lawyer. So I don't know. We'll see.
Money and your lawyers matter more than anything.
Yeah.
Although, again, to refer to the amazing post on your forum for way too many times, which will win, the Titan or the Dragon? Just
so
things
cool.
like that. It's just really funny,
title.
right? It makes it personal, makes it cool to watch. So thanks a lot.
I believe we had something interesting. I can't find it in rapid fire. I feel like we're missing something. Right, the Samsung Gear Blink, which is it's supposed to be a rival for Google Glass because we totally need those right now. Yeah.
Is Google Glass dead or what?
As far as I know, yeah. Did I tell you I tried it and just was not impressed.
I remember you saying that.
Linus grabbed it and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna do like one of our iSwitched episode things and try it out for like a month and see how well it goes." And then I think he lasted 2 days and just ditched it entirely because it's just not good.
I saw one guy at PAX with one.
Yeah.
Some enforcer just kind of standing there.
I remember because I saw him as well. Him. One person.
The individual.
Yeah.
Out of what, 75,000 or...
Yeah, and you know he's wearing it just because people are like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't click on it. And then I went to go switch screens. Now I gotta go back. Click on this. So yeah, if they're filing for patents with these, good luck, bro.
It looks like safety glasses.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like the interest... This is the weirdest thing to pull out of this. But did you prepare what I said last time? It's so like, I don't know.
I never read that.
Yeah. It just seems so direct and forceful.
I guess they like... Did you prepare the chicken salad sandwich?
Yeah,
they could have gone with something else. Maybe that's what he means by what I said last time. Maybe they're trying to make sure that they didn't offend anyone ever. But it's just weird. And like the typing with a hand thing is cool.
I'm not sure.
At the same time.
I have to see how it's implemented. Obviously, that's something you're going to have to use before you can really,
This is one of our rapid fire topics, so we don't have a ton of research on this one.
No.
What I'm super stoked for, though, is the Microsoft headset, or was it the Intel headset? I think it was the Intel headset. Let me look it up real quick. I'm going to turn my screen on to not looking at what's on my screen, because that's cool and stuff. And then go to Intel Jarvis headset. Yeah, the Intel Jarvis headset looks so cool, but then there hasn't been kind of anything about it at all. This one is not... There we go. You can see in that picture, so I'll share my screen again. Thanks for the pivot thing going on.
I'm getting better.
So you can see in this picture, it's not like a heads-up display on his glasses. It just kind of wraps around his ear. And it's much more focused around being Jarvis instead of...
Which
is
how
amazing.
freaking cool could that be?
Yeah, and it's part of the idea is local recording and local analytics of what you said, instead of like the horrible, like it's cool but still horrible. Okay, Google now, blink, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it's
sits waiting because it's sent out to a server, then it has to figure out what you said, then I have to send commands back. Like just,
that being said, it's incredible that whole process happens.
Yes,
but we need to step forward. It needs to be local on the phone.
Yeah.
It needs therefore being way quicker, way more efficient, not using your data plan. We're talking about cell phones and our plans and how we pay for them and all that kind of stuff. It's still using your data. Might be, a micro amount of data, but there's those guys out there with a 250 megabyte monthly plan.
I have 500 megabyte.
You have 500 megabyte.
It's horrible.
So
if I forget to turn on Wi-Fi and I go home one night and I accidentally watch like a YouTube video, I'm screwed.
You're in a lot of trouble. Yeah. So those little micro, we could call them transactions, micro transactions of data matter, right? It matters. So it's a big deal. If you could have that local on your phone, it would be so much quicker, so much more efficient. And also, if you're not in, if you're out in a forest, like we were shooting, way out in the middle of a forest shooting this new movie, and your data didn't work. You can't do any of that stuff without data, period, right? So it's just over.
And if you've got Jarvis in your ear,
it's not over.
It could still work unless he has to Google things, and then it won't work.
Yeah.
Which would be unfortunate. Either way, guys, I believe that is it for the show this week. I'm going to play our intro, which is exactly the same as our outro, and it's going to be awkward because I forgot to take the one overlay off, and there's actually 2 overlays on there, so it's going to start playing, and then I'm going to like drag these things off. But we'll be okay. Everyone will survive.
We're in this process together.
Awkward! There we go. Nope, I'm dead.
I'll carry my part of the couch.
We should just... No, what it should be is Linus drops the couch and then you just run in and pick it up. I got this. Awkward long pause. I forgot her name. That was awkward. Mod 24. Mod 24 is going to be fantastic if we don't die. And if we do die, it'll be fantastic for you, but severely not fantastic for us. There will be 3 teams competing to build a super awesome mod. They will have 24 hours, and there will only be one champion whose cuisine will reign supreme. Squeeze-on! We have a really interesting mod going on the floor right now. I really want to do that. Anyways, hopefully you guys will tune in. It's on September 18th at 6 p.m.
I'll be tuning in.
Come watch. It should be really cool. I hope it's really cool. And I really want to see people in the chat. I want to see if someone lasts through the whole 24 hours of Mod 24 and then watches the full duration of the WAN show right afterwards, because we're apparently doing the WAN show right afterwards because we will not miss a WAN show. And then moving on, we have the wonderful, the beautiful Lynda.com with her very good educational tools, which is not necessarily what you expect after that intro. If you go to lynda.com/WAN show, you can get a 7-day free trial. And if you think that 7-day free trial is super duper awesome, you can subscribe for, I believe, $25 a month. Yep. And you get to learn a whole bunch of stuff. I know Taryn here at Works learns video editing that way. None of our other editors do because they're slacking off. And if you are in high school and you want to learn programming because you're going to take it in post-secondary, I would highly suggest taking Java little courses things on lynda.com because that would be very, very helpful. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time. Are we gonna do a short after party thing? Are you gonna hang out?
I'm down.
You're down? All right. We're gonna do a short after party thing. So keep watching if you want to keep watching.